Looks like it's it. What is up, everybody? Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for another weekly edition of the Tattoo Weekly, beaming out live from all around the United States. So if you guys are watching on YouTube or Facebook or the Reinventing mobile app, let us know that all of our streams are working in the chat, or we'd love if you tag a friend who'd love to join us, who loves tattoos, anything like that. So let us know where you're beaming in from. You can check out some of our weekly shows, drawing groups, and other things on the Reinventing Tattoo Network, as well as reinventing247.com. Before getting started, we'll throw out a special thank you to some of our amazing sponsors for helping us provide content to you for free. Thank you to Inkjet Stencils, Raw Pigments, and D-Lives Pro, as well as our affiliates, Fireside Tattoo, The Apprenticeship Diaries, and EcoFriendlyTattooSupplies.com. So without any further ado, let's say hey to Jake and Gabe and kick off episode number 11.
What's going on? Lauren, you look, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You look great. I love the setup. I like it better without the green light on behind you. You look like warmer and it's
Thank
nice.
You.
Yep, I like it.
Thank you. What's going on in the background, guys? Oh.
There's a party.
Okay. Is that at your house or?
It is not at my house.
Wait, what's it? What do you hear?
A lot of people.
Oh, it might be. It could be my family in another room watching the Avengers. Does it sound like it could be an Avengers movie?
It's possible.
Let me see if I can solve the problem. You guys go ahead.
Sure.
You here?
All right. So should we roll the clip or?
Well, we have the intros. Or do we start off with introduction? Let's do the intro, and then we could go around. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Thanks.
Here we are. Another great Sunday night, huh? And we're actually all not crazy with the BYOB happening and all that stuff. So
and I didn't know what kind of stress that was putting on me until it was over, and now I feel like a different person. It's really nice.
I used to get convention depression. There's an amount of communications that just go back and forth. As you were saying, it's like an insane amount of communications. And then it like builds up until all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this is actually happening now. And this was actually just a smaller kind of, this was a BYOB. This is like a fucking picnic. And, but then all of a sudden, like the day after it's over, there's like a couple people that are trying to leave, are leaving, a couple of last minute things. And then all of a sudden it's like radio silence. And it took me years to realize that radio silence was, it wasn't because people didn't give a shit. It was just because the event was over and there wasn't a million communications that had to happen anymore.
It's a great opportunity for just a reset, just to not, and I'm bad about my phone anyways. And I would look up and there would be 25 text messages between you and Allie and or whoever. And it overwhelmed me in a way that I didn't realize until it was over. And I was like, oh, man, my shoulders are relaxed now. It's nice, but it was worth every minute. I had such a blast. I met so many great people. The only mistake that I made was that I worked too much and I didn't get to collaborate and draw with people hardly at all.
Well, next year we can definitely make sure that we schedule our the yoga and make sure that there's a masseuse, because those were two key elements that we could have used. There was Amanda did try to get the yoga going or the stretching going, or maybe she did. I wasn't there. So sometimes the crew gets it, makes it happen, but we could definitely get on the schedule. for next year. But it was a hell of a lot of fun. I couldn't believe how it did come together. Like I think I was saying that there was a whole bunch of different crews that kind of came out to help on the ground, and then with Lauren and Sandy, kind of beaming in and helping facilitate beaming in was like having like support from the ether, from the cloud. It was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, can I read a quick comment that already came into Fireside from Jonas DeWald that says, Meeks, I seen you had my cousin on last week, Andy Chambers. Glad to see Fireside touching base with real dope artists. Jonas, your cousin Andy Chambers is one of my favorite tattooers in the entire world. I think he's one of the best guys working today. So congratulations on having a cousin as good as Andy Chambers.
You have a lot to live up to with your genetics. No, he is amazing. Absolutely. He's been amazing for a very long time too.
Yeah.
What else? We got a tree. Tree says loud and clear here in Seattle. An old guy apprentice at Stray Cat Tattoo. Thanks all, Jake, and all of you for the digital guidance.
Awesome.
Right on.
Nice.
And he's actually working on the Facebooks too. Ben Thomas says hi, friends.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, Ben. He's often on the tattoo collecting podcast that we did live from the BYOB.
Yeah, and the final or the other comment on the Fireside side is Ethan. Is that Ethan? Ethan. Good Lord. I tattooed all day, had almost no dinner, and started with bourbon. So sorry, Ethan.
Nice.
He says, "Sup, fam."
Sup,
How's it
Ethan?
going?
I didn't check out the Reinventing YouTube. I don't know if any of you guys are watching, but our normal crew, if you guys are there, thank you very much. My opinion on the Paradise BYOB, I was so bummed that I couldn't go, but it's like it was so amazing to be there without being there. And so the hybrid version of a gathering at home or gathering at the dopest place ever was just like, it was cool. I'd never done anything like that before. So
yeah, I wish you had been there. We did a couple of different. We did a tattoo weekly together, and then we also did the podcast kind of podcast in paradise thing together. But I didn't get to look at your face in either of them, which was a little bit weird. So that's the thing with I love the hybrid event idea, but it's that like weird lag in between, or not seeing people's faces and just listening to
there was an iPad there on the table that often we hooked up, but we must not have for that one, unfortunately. But you're right, it would be cool to have some screens on the back end that were facing us, so that the stage can see everybody big too.
Yeah, like right behind the camera, like a big 80-inch TV where we could look straight at the person who we're talking to would be super cool.
Yeah. Or the crew of people, because sometimes there was more than one. The archaeology panel was pretty sick.
Oh yeah, that was freaking awesome.
Actually, do you want to talk about? I guess we could go into some of the clips if you want to catch us up or catch the viewers up on what was happening with that archaeology panel.
Actually, I'll start with John's work because I have that one set up in the background.
I'm not going to jump in.
So I guess it's kind of loaded with everything that went on this weekend. But for those of you who missed the very first interview with John Swerk, he's a chemist at Binghamton University. And one day John has in his mind, what happens to tattoos why do tattoos fade? And so he decided to, take it and run, and got a grant, $500,000 grant from NIH, and started the research for a 3-year project. So I spoke to him at the end of March. So it's about 6-7 months ago. And we spoke again, and I started with like viewer questions. I started with kind of the basics, but we kind of went down a different route. So I have that video pulled up in the background. So I'll pull that up for you guys. Gabe, how do you catch the full replays of these? If you guys want to talk about that while I pull it up.
Yeah, so if you go to paradisebyob.com, let me fire up the website here. And
okay, because I'm going to be sharing, I think, 3 clips, and there are more that I wanted to share, but like just little clips of it. You guys can catch all of that pretty easy.
It was pretty awesome that pretty much right after the the show is over. We had everything right up. Okay, so this is Paradise BYOB. It's not too late to beam in to the replay. You'll see right here, virtual Paradise BYOB. I'll probably make a quick link to that, but right now that's where you click on it, and you'll see the stage as well as all of the replays for the seminars. We do have, I think, two of the panels, the welcome panel and the closing panel are currently for free preview. So
Okay.
you could check them out. But this whole schedule for the stage is pretty awesome. And it's
Yeah.
it's still for
And
sale.
and for everyone that has an interest, we're trying to go through, and obviously everything was live, and so breaks are live, and it was specifically in the seminar room, which is what I was in charge of. We might take 10-minute breaks here or there, have question and answers, and what we're doing slowly but surely over the next couple of weeks is trying to chop all this stuff up where it's really concise and you get all the greatest pieces of information without sitting through a lot of stuff that that you may not want to sit through. So if you want to get the main stage, which is the best deal of all because it's like 4 days for $100, but if you want to go on and get it now, as we chop these things up a little bit and make them more concise, we'll update them and you'll have the more concise versions of them. So so much information, man. It's like the best deal you could possibly imagine. This kind of thing just doesn't exist otherwise. $100 for all the stuff that went on that main stage is absolutely ridiculous.
That's pretty fun.
All right. Well, I'm ready to roll back here. Here we go.
So this is one of the things that's really interesting about tattoos from a scientific perspective, because I think while there is an emerging consensus about what a tattoo ink looks like in the skin, it's still not necessarily a settled scientific fact, right? The best picture seems to be that, that the ink particle gets embedded, right? Because at a sort of smaller scale, right, these inks are aggregates of the pigments, the binders, any sort of solid pigments that are in there. That gets embedded into the skin. And the classic picture, as I understand it, and admittedly I'm not a biologist, but as I understand it, the classic picture was sort of that, they would get consumed by a white blood cell and that, or macrophage, and that would sort of segregate it from the rest of the body. The picture that seems to be developing more now is that you have kind of a shell of white blood cells that surround these inks, and that they're sort of constantly dying off and being replaced, and that's what sort of segregates and holds the ink in. The interesting thing about that from our perspective is if you basically, if the tattoo stays put because you've made this sort of biological net of white blood cells, when you start zapping that with a laser or maybe generating some kind of harmful photo product, is the tattoo ink getting out of the skin just because you're basically tearing a hole in the net, right? Or are you actually fragmenting that particle and doing some chemistry in it? We're in the early stages of doing our own cell studies. What is interesting is that we've found that using some human dermal cell models, that we can see incorporation of the tattoo inks into the cells. And it does seem to have a little bit of an effect on how they grow. We don't have any evidence that impacts the viability. One of the challenges is that when you do cell biology work, a lot of the techniques you use to characterize what's going on with the cells involve the emission of light or the absorption of light. And once you introduce the tattoo inks,
well, there was that actually could have gone. That went on for an hour, and there was even more questions. So that was actually, I think that relationship, Gabe, you introduced reinventing to John, and it's really cool to talk to an academic about tattoos, and he's really trying to do something for the artist and client. He's really interested to provide good data, good research.
And he doesn't own like any ink companies or
No.
so he's like impartial, and
Yeah.
it's fun to it's definitely fun to catch up with more academics
Mhm.
as as everything's evolving and whatnot.
And how cool is it to have someone who has no skin in the game but give an unbiased opinion? That's like something we almost never get in our industry. Almost everyone has something to sell, and that's awesome.
Yeah,
What
I noticed twice in two different conversations for panels with these academics that came and joined. With John, there was a question from the chat, and I asked him, and it made him think, and then play it out in his head for a different answer, and which I think is great that tattooers communicate with people who are studying things like that because the perspective is invaluable. For the archaeologist panel, it was something about Michael had asked about if they had found any examples of anti-inflammatories and pigments, and they said no until the guy walked himself through the thought of breast milk. So you know what I mean. So it was pretty cool. That type of communication is beneficial, and for the thought process. So I think that maybe John got something out of it, just like we did.
Awesome. Yeah, I
it's
mean, there's
I was going to say there's you listen to someone like John talk, and you feel like as a tattooer you have nothing to add to the conversation because obviously he understands things that you don't understand as a technician. But there's so much value that a technician brings to a conversation from their own kind of intuitive knowledge. You know what I mean? Even though they don't really know what's happening, if you spend years and years watching, putting ink in the skin and then it comes back healed, and you kind of form your own opinions on what's happening, that's actually pretty valuable to an academic who's never done that.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, well, and some of them have like done some of the stick and pokes, recreating what people used to be doing. But to your point, yeah, no, I mean the opportunity for them to reach, a full crew of tattoo people, tattoo enthusiasts, people that live and breathe tattoos, is pretty special for them too. I believe it seems like it, at least.
Yeah.
They're usually with classrooms full of people that are interested in what they're talking about. But yeah, to your point, they're this is a special audience of people that are immersed in tattoos.
Right. Along those lines, before we move on, we Fireside did an ink physics series, probably I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years ago, that I would thought was really interesting. And one thing that stood out to me when it comes to, he was talking about the white blood cells kind of surrounding the pigment particle, or the, like, I forget the term he used, but the coagulative kind of like binder pigment, all the stuff that sticks, together. I always thought that your body was trying to get rid of foreign particles, things that it didn't find useful, and it wanted to like just ditch them because it was trying to protect you. And in that series that we did, what I learned was your body, if something isn't a danger, your body's pretty good at recognizing that. What it's more apt to do is rob something that's useful. So what you find is that, like, organic pigments, things like if you used, like, say, an iron oxide as a red, your body has a lot of use for iron. So it's not that it doesn't, it's not that it doesn't want the red pigment in your skin. What it wants to do is repurpose the iron for something that's more valuable than a tattoo. And so it's more about it using the pigment rather than ridding the pigment,
Oh, that's crazy. It's not that crazy, I guess. It's right there in
You know,
video.
well, what is crazy though is that a lot of the stuff that they've been testing were like brands that we would say, like, why aren't you testing the top brands, and he said that a problem that they're running into, like an actual legitimate problem, is that the purity of the pigments being used, and now that affects everyone because and he's like, well, how could you test the purity of the base powder pigments? And he's thinking, well, you can test the melting point, otherwise you really do need particular stuff like lab equipment and things like that to test those sort of things. So that was pretty cool that he come up with that conclusion. I don't know that an artist, your everyday average person, should be melting anything in their shop or studio, but like, there really isn't a good way for you to test the purity of what you're using, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've run into problems with what they've been testing as like the pigment isn't what they think it is.
We had this discussion on something at Paradise. Gabe, you might remember what it was. Some panel that I was on where we were talking about. Oh no, it wasn't that. It was Jesse Smith's seminar. You weren't there. We were talking about. It was a color theory seminar, and we were talking about the dry pigments and the fact that I say the fact, I don't know this is true. This came from our tattoo science talk, but really the dry pigments they're only manufactured by a couple of really giant companies. BASF, Lauren, you might know because you're an ink person, but a couple of really huge companies that produce the dry powdered pigments, which are used for industrial stuff and meat stamping and surgery markers and all kinds of other things. But apparently they don't get from the manufacturer BASF directly to say raw pigments. There are all these middlemen, mostly in China, that actually make that transition, and that seems to be where the area gets a little gray. Is in them buying it from the manufacturers, the people who pull it out of the ground and turn it into what it is, separating it, categorizing it, and then reselling it. And I can't remember exactly what the conversation was in that Ink Science episode, but it was about I know what it was. We were talking to who's the big manufacturer in South America? Electric Ink. Electric Ink was talking about how they can't guarantee that they were having a hard time guaranteeing that whatever blue 14 or blue red whatever that they get this month is the same combination of materials that they get the following month. And it wasn't from BASF, it was from the middleman that got it to them. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you know what, I think for an average viewer, now is a good time to ask yourself, what are your most important things, and answer those questions before they become political or like highly talked about or trending. Ask yourself, like, what are my expectations, and then maybe do some research and follow through with what you're doing, because like we're starting to get a lot of attention on tattoo inks and it's everywhere, which is another thing that I'll talk about tonight in a few minutes. And that would be the Coalition for Tattoo Safety Conference. So that's, they were going to do some cool unveiling. If you guys remember a few weeks back where we talked about those little skin things that Intends was going to unveil, like some information about at this conference. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah, are they doing it virtually, or what's the?
I don't know. We can look to real quick. Just check it out.
That it was supposed to be a live event in the next few weeks, month.
Yeah, coming up real close. The 25th to 30th of October, which would have been about less than 3 weeks.
So and it was postponed due to COVID, or what happened?
Well,
you might need to share your screen with the audio.
Sure. I'm not sure why
New proportionate message for the Coalition Tattoo Show Las Vegas, October 25th to 30th. Due to unforeseen circumstances and COVID concerns and new proposed restrictions in Las Vegas, we are forced to move the event from October to the spring 2022. I'm really sorry about it. We have tried everything. We just got informed this morning on it at 9 o'clock. And we have been struggling with this for the last 2-3 days. We have worked on this very, very hard on this event for the last 6 months with an incredible team and the Coalition for Piercing Safety, who put all their efforts in to get this done. So I keep you updated with some emails. Of course, we're going to honor the passes. We're going to offer refunds. We're going to make every possible situation happen.
Yeah, so that's, that's what's happening over there. Which would have been a pretty big event right now because, there's so much going on. There's a lot really going on. And, just so you know, ink manufacturers that are the good ink manufacturers do have your interest in mind because we're all in the industry. So there are a lot of things where people have been asking questions like, what type of research can you provide and all these sorts of things. But from what I can tell you and from what I've seen from many companies, is they're being proactive, just behind the scenes. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm sure. And the thing is they're doing it of of their own free will, and I mean, obviously for their own like uh, uh, I'm losing the term, but like ability to stay in business, because the vast majority of us that have been doing tattoos for years and years don't experience daily problems. So that's kind of the battle that an organization like the Coalition for Tattoo Safety has to deal with, is that they want all the tattooers behind them, but all the tattooers are like, man, I've been using these inks for 20 years. They don't, I mean, everything's fine. I never have any trouble. And so it's hard to build it's hard to get people involved. So it's, and then you take something like this, like COVID or whatever causes Vegas to decide they have to postpone, and it's a real uphill battle for that group of people.
I think that if everybody were to get together, I think a good idea would be to streamline like what information we think tattooers need to know and clients need to know on a bottle, and keep into those standards and stuff like that, just so everybody's on the same page. Labeling is huge. Just predict what's going to happen and take those actions. I know World Famous just announced they have like a special line for Europe, so like that right there is a huge announcement. So it can, the blue and green pigments, that's a real thing. So they were being pretty proactive there.
I would put forth, well, I won't put forth anything. I would say I'm happy that we're planning on doing events that are smaller rather than larger, because yeah, it does feel like it's a pretty weird time to be throwing big events designed to get lots of people. And again, Paradise, we didn't have any tattooing. There's tons of open space. It's a ski resort like Vegas. It feels like, I mean, I guess it feels like it's burning through. I mean, it feels like it's burning through. Maybe we're at the tail end of the last wave or two. But yeah, I'm still canceling my trips to Vegas, unfortunately.
Did you hear Derb on the one of the Future of Tattoo conventions? He's like, guys, what if we were some of the last people to throw these huge, awesome crowd bringing in conventions? And I think some of the guys just looked at each other and thought like, wow, is that really the future of tattoo conventions, is small? You know, begs the question, like if we were to try and think like the Jetsons, what's the most craziest tattoo like convention future? Like what would tattoo conventions be like in 50 years? Do you have pods on the beach?
Well,
What's
with the surgical robots automatically testing your pain, the actual amount of pain that's going through your nervous system, so that it can inject the perfect amount of numbing agent, to perfectly manage it, but at the discretion of the design that's created by the artist, of course.
I imagine I'm sitting back in a recliner with a robot massaging me while I sketch the design, and something else actually tattoos it in real time. Yeah, like Idiocracy, where it just it makes the tattoo and I just sketch it on the fly. And hopefully when I erase, it can erase. That would be awesome.
I think our voices are going to be able to do so much, because that's pretty easy technology, commands. So I think that
I don't know. I find it hard to believe that we're at the end of large tattoo gatherings. Maybe for some period of time, but I don't know. I
people
feel
like to gather.
Yeah, absolutely. People like to gather.
Maybe.
Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say, eventually enough people are gonna get vaccinated or sick and fucking that, it burns through the population. I mean, I guess the variants are the, issues, the longer it lingers, but at this point, it feels like it's, might last for a while longer. And again, like right now, it's difficult to like get too many people to like internationally to commit to things. But they're starting to, for next year, for next year's show and stuff.
I think they should rethink the venue types, because like separation is key. Is it possible to rent a mall?
Yeah, well, yeah, therein lies again what I was saying earlier too, is like the stuff that I do is always kind of designed to be out in nice area places in the middle of nowhere, and we're never designed to get like tens of thousands or even really thousands and thousands of people through.
And I mean, obviously there's a place where you can villain art shows that have that travel and have to they handle tons of people, and I'm sure people have fantastic experiences. I love personally to get to know as many people as I can at a show. I like quaint, not quiet, but quaint and small shows where everyone that I pass, I can say hi and know their names and and have some recollection of a conversation that we've had. So I really appreciate the small shows. I know there's a place for every kind of show, but if Lauren, if you're right and Dirb's right, and this is the end of huge shows, it won't break my heart. I love small shows.
I'm not saying if I'm right or wrong. I really don't know. I think like maybe there could be more pampering involved in the future with like more pristine representation and standards, like as a norm.
Yeah, I love boutique events. I like that. That's exactly what you said.
So
I like
the next video that I have is with Nick and Sean, Nick Baxter and Sean Barber, who are going to be part of a little boutique event.
And before you play it, can I just say I met the guy who's putting on this event. What's his name? Scott? Sean? No.
Jason Zub.
Jason. I'm way off.
Jason, yeah. He owns the venue. Technically, I'm producing the show.
Man, I love that dude. What a great guy. He anyone who can get, how many spots are there? 5 or 6?
There's like 5 or 6. There's like 5 rooms. There's a couple rooms that have like two beds in them. So if there was a situation where people wanted to share the rooms, then we might be able to put in maybe like 7 tickets possible. And then there'll be like you and I and maybe like one other person. So like it's going to be like a group of like 10 people.
Man, yeah. I mean, obviously Nick Baxter and oh shit. Sean Barber are 2 of the elite artists and tattooers and tattooing today. But the guy Jason that's putting this on is such a unique personality. He was a professional wrestler in like the ECW or something. I spent like I don't know, an hour or so with him. What an interesting guy. Anyone that can get one of these 6 to 8 spots should grab it as fast as they can.
Yeah.
How do you do that, Gabe?
Right now, you just have to email gabe@tatoonow.com with like an inspiring tours information interest. I'm getting the website together now that the BYB is over. I can do so. And yeah, so this is a clip. I'm just going to kind of hop in the middle of this interview, and I'm not. Hopefully, it's in a good spot, but it should be because both of these guys are great. So here we go.
And
the idea phase right now is like, let's try to make this happen.
Awesome. Well, I'm very excited to see who steps forward and to see what happens.
They're talking about doing a collaborative tattoo.
Do you guys have anything that you would want to add? I know this was a very impromptu interview, and I want to thank you very much for your time. There's people that are pretty excited online. But yeah, is there...
I think Nick talking about the past Paradise experiences, they were always huge, inspirational. To get the opportunity to be in a space with a bunch of creative folks who are there with the idea of trying to improve and trying to learn. It's not something that happens every day, and to do it in this intimate setting, it's going to be a unique life-changing. I don't know about that, but
it's amazing that you could almost be either desensitized to that or but it's something that it's hard to say because you have to live up to it so much. But one thing that I figured when I'm doing these events, I'm like, oh my God, how do we keep changing people's lives like every year? And I mean, both of you do this. A lot of it's just about the experience of everyone together being 1 or 2 or 3 years, wiser or more experienced or more beat up than we were last time. And to be able to take that same energies and like I said, I canceled other trips when I was looking at my schedule, and I'm like, well, there's like 2 other things that are going to go before I don't go to New Hampshire and help this happen, because it just seems like it's going to be an amazing time. Awesome. Well, I'll be getting.
That was awesome clip. Awesome spot to stop at.
Yeah, And it's funny to have, to like rewatch that now. I mean, I guess it's just like having passed another event. The other clip that I have, we could close out the show with maybe is we have the closing panel, and just the fact. I guess I was talking about it being desensitized, and Jake, you'll catch this more. But and especially like with a Paradise Tattoo Gathering, it's just a lot more people. It's by a couple factors, right? But so eventually, it's almost like after like a 10th or 15th or 20th person, it's like, this is changing my life. I'm like, but just tell me, how do I make it better? Oh, I don't give a fuck if it's changing your life. Tell me. No, I do. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean to disparage the fact that you're having a life changing experience. Yeah, no, it was amazing to hear that. Jake, your mic's off.
Hey, and you said it too. It's like a life changing experience. I mean, even if 6 people come together for one person to have that experience, it's still totally worth it. And either way, you never really know what everybody's feeling and thinking. And sometimes it really takes time to really like appreciate that.
Sorry, I've had my mic off the whole time. I'm trying to do the old space bar trick where I just hold the space bar to talk.
It works if you push the space bar.
It does, unless you accidentally clicked off of the Zoom conversation. That's what I learned, which is what I just did. That's why I thought you were being so rude talking over me this entire time.
I'm just like fucking blasting over.
But yeah, I completely agree, man. I love, people are telling you that things are, that the like Paradise, for example, last week was such an awesome experience, and people kept telling me it was the best event they had ever been to. And my first thought was all the things that we could do better. It was just like, well, it would have been, imagine if we had only done this, or if we had only done this. And I would think with 6 or 8 people, with 2 of the absolute best painters, tattooers, Sean Barber's been painting forever and is a relatively new tattooer, but is obviously hit the ground running because he's an awesome artist. And then Nick, who is a legendary tattooer, and his painting has gone to new levels. And if you take those 2 guys with 8 artists who want to get better, and us recording it, holy crap, man! Well, like,
slow it the fuck down.
Slow it down.
Yeah, 3 days. With that few people. The portrait painting. Just kind of go through that one day. Then have time to reflect. Have the time at night. Then the next day do a plein air. Have the time at night, time to reflect. Then a day of tattooing, the 2 of them. On somebody. And then, well, that might take a while, but, and then, I think there's going to be like a half a day of optional field trips. And, yeah, I mean, just like I said, slow it down a little bit. Everything, it's, we'll see. I think it's going to be pretty tremendous.
What? Yeah, that sounds incredible to me. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Slowing down is what I didn't do that well last week at Paradise, but I will in the next one. The thing that I noticed, and this was my first Paradise, and I'm honored to have been or to have been able to.
Well, you did the Venetian gathering.
I did Venetian, yeah, that was incredible. This is my first
Venetian. That was a gathering, not a Paradise. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, there was tattooing there. It was bigger, it was incredible.
It was much bigger. Yeah.
It was incredible. But the thing that this last week taught me was that small groups start to trust each other. And I don't know if you noticed this, but even the night that we had the band there, the Vapors of Morphine, who were awesome, which is also recorded and hopefully available.
Thank God.
They were so good. They were so good. But everyone was sitting at tables together, passing sketchbooks around. It was crazy to watch people get to that level. And we're not talking about, I mean, there were some great artists there. There were some learning artists there, some beginning artists there. Everyone got comfortable in their own skin. Everyone started contributing to a collaborative sketch in someone's sketchbook that no one was going to take home except for one person, right. And then everyone contributed to it. And then we set up a bunch of easels and we all jumped in. That's the only night I got to draw. We all jumped in and started building off of these charcoal sketches, and no one was intimidated. Everyone was contributing. And I don't know. I mean, if you're a tattooer, you get this. It's hard to do. It's hard to like put yourself out there because your first thought is that everyone will recognize your weaknesses. I've been tattooing for over half of my life. I'm still afraid that everyone's going to recognize a weakness that I don't know. You know what I mean? And so the fact that all these people from like badass like 20 something year veterans to apprentices or collaborating in the same sketchbook while Vapors of Morphine is playing at the bar, it's like, what the hell? Crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
That's that shed a tear moment.
Yeah, it was awesome. And so you take that, and I would imagine this Baxter Barber thing is going to be, amplify that. 8 people with 2 of the best artists working in tattooing today, man.
Yeah, with breakfasts.
Right.
Yeah, awesome. So, Lauren, do you have another clip fired up, or?
Yeah, do you guys? We're tight on time. If you want to keep it to an hour.
Well,
But,
we started about 10 or 15 minutes later.
Yeah, we were late.
All right, so let me roll in. Some of the sound recording was like spotty with my screen share, so if it does like that, just we spoke to a really cool archaeologist, anthropologist panel, and I'm going to show you a little bit of a clip from that. Interesting. And then also for some of our viewers, Andrew, I was curious if you could shed some light on your findings in the southeastern United States.
Yeah, I'll share my screen here.
Sure.
Yeah, so just briefly, the tool that I found originally comes from kind of southeastern Utah. It's the site is called Turkey Pen Ruin or Turkey Pen Cave. It has variety, but you usually always find Turkey Pen in the name. But it's kind of part of the Bears Ears National Monument landscape, and it's a rock shelter, so things have been preserved really well in that area. I mean, we even find like unfinished sandals, feathers. There's lots of like human hair, fossilized poop or coprolites. So things preserve really well in this kind of rock shelter. It's very dry and it gets protected from the weather. So it's not surprising that this particular tool survived, the last couple thousand years. The site was originally excavated where the tool came from in 1972. And this is the tool. It's a very small, here's a very tiny replica of it. So you can see that it's quite small. And so the wooden part is a sumac. And then you have some yucca leaf strips there, that the kind of binding there on the end.
So for that, I mean, it might sound a little bit boring, and yet, sometimes history can be a little boring. But that little instrument replica was 2,000 years old.
Yeah, I don't find that shit boring at all.
Okay.
All that.
Okay, so there was different little things that they spoke about in that chat. We started talking about tattoo tools. We spoke about mummies and comparing, contrasting, I guess, modern day tattooing to ancient tattooing, ancient art. But yeah, it was pretty interesting to talk about the tools they found.
Yeah, for sure. What was the and then Lars was the other. Lars Krutik was the other anthropologist who was on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I remember he was talking about the figurative tattoos. It started off as a lot of geometry that was based around maybe acupuncture points and whatnot, but then he's talking about some of the figurative tattoos, and then somebody asked about what the most common figurative animal was or figurative tattoo was. And Jake, do you remember this? Does anybody guess? Maybe we should have a guess. We could give away something in the chat room. What is an ancient tattooing across all of the indigenous cultures? There was one clear animal tattoo that was found. So
I was not there. I was in the seminar room. I missed this entire thing. But can I guess like bison or deer?
You can guess bison. You can guess bison and deer. You can't wait. How many guesses do you get?
I just want bison. I'll take bison.
Okay, you got bison on. Okay. If anyone wants to bet against,
I was thinking
bison.
a bull, but like something. But yeah, that's I don't remember seeing that, so I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. We'll somebody make a note so that we don't forget to Well, I guess if no one in the chat room actually makes guesses, then we'll forget.
Someone from the Fireside chat is gonna guess because we have 19 people watching right now. Gabe, repeat it. 2 people just jumped on. If you're watching right now, don't click off on Fireside. Don't click off. Answer this question.
We've had recently we had an archaeology panel that had I think it was like 4 or 5 experts. Oh no, excuse me. This is about Lars Krutik. He was on Sunday. And he's a tattoo anthropologist, larskrutik.com. Just do a search for tattoo anthropologist and Lars, you'll find him. Anyways, the question was, what figurative animal was most common across the different indigenous cultures around the world? And he had
Fireside has deer twice. Mark and Jeff both say deer. Jonas says, as artists, do you find that smoking bud helps y'all? What are you talking about, Jonas? We're trying to buffalo from Jonas said buffalo. He was already typing a question that he answered. 2 deers and a buffalo from Fireside.
2 deers and buffalo.
Amanda War has an answer here in the chat room.
Bird from CW.
Bird, I like the birds. Okay, we're gonna get to Amanda last though because she was there, but she did get the answer correct. Buffalo, bird, owl, or stag. Okay.
Jonas thinks that he gets 2 guesses or 3 guesses because his cousin is Andy Chambers.
Well, you started off.
I was going to say valid.
Yeah. Amanda War says a centipede, and ding, 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 ding. She gets the prize of the day, gold star. You know what was crazy though? Right after that, I saw fuck, who was it? I wish I remembered it. Somebody posted up a centipede on the Instagrams recently. But so yes, Amanda, thank you for chatting with a correct answer.
What does Amanda get? Give her a stage pass.
A pat on the back. A stage pass. She was Amanda. She came up to the show. She already Amanda, if you don't already have any of the digital, pick a digital BYOB seminar, and we'll make sure that we get it to you. She says, I love that talk. It was awesome. It was awesome. But yeah, so Amanda, in the chat room, actually at the same time they emailed me about the trip with Nick and Sean at the O'Reilly house, you could say, please comp me this webinar. And you can find the list on the courses.reinventingthetattoo.com.
Right on.
Okay.
Jake, you're muted.
Okay, sorry. I did hit it, but I clicked off to answer some of our messages. Okay. I was going to say she may as well just select the Jake Meeks Find Your Style webinar as her free webinar.
Voila.
If I were to choose the best webinar, hypothetically, unbiasedly.
Okay. It was a representation of a tree of life. Wait, now I'm confused. What was the representation of tree of life?
The centipede.
The centipede? Ah, okay.
Oh.
I don't know. I'm just assuming.
So Lauren, you had, and I assume maybe we should wait till next week because I don't know what we have for next week, but we have, we could do it as a teaser, the sponsorship thing that Yogi Berra.
Let's do it as a teaser.
Okay, let's do that as a teaser before we shut down.
What do you think, Gabe?
How long is the video? We can talk about it.
I mean, the video is 12 minutes. We probably wouldn't go through the whole. Let's.
And I have at least 45 minutes of things to say about it, so let's do it next week.
Okay. We'll do the teaser.
Yeah.
And then because I could close out with a little bit from the just the closing discussion panel on the BYOB if we wanted to.
Sure. Not really sure how to find the video. Here we go. So I'll show the little bit of the video and then
Perfect.
We'll know, everybody can know where to find it.
Talking about sponsorships. I wanted to make a video today to kind of nail down on that a little bit more, go over some things with you guys, things that I think are unfair to the tattooers, and to talk about the deals that the deals that you get most often from these companies. They're usually the 30% deal, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But real quick, right before we get into this, the reason I wanted to put this out was because I've been approached by probably 5 different companies in the last 4 to 5 weeks, and they all send me the same watered down deal that I've been presented with for the last however fucking long. And no one
Yeah,
has
so
come up with anything different.
next week we'll talk about that and what we think sponsorships, where they came from,
I love that. Yeah, man.
where they're going.
Yogi Barrett is an unfiltered guy for sure. We podcasted with him years back, and it was awesome. He asked me to take it down because he thought he came off like an asshole, but he wasn't. He's just he's just who he is, you know. And I love I would ask that anyone that thinks they might tune in next week, go ahead and watch his. If that's up, right? Was it a story or was it a post?
No, it's an IGTV
That
video
means
up.
you can watch it
Yeah.
for however long. Okay.
Yeah, go up to his profile and watch it. I think it's 12 minutes, but he goes through, and then that way it can be something that you think about, because I feel like that's, a common thing for artists to be approached for a sponsorship.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. He put a lot of work and a lot of thought into it. And he makes a lot of great points. And it'd be cool if you guys want to watch next Sunday, if you watched it beforehand and we spent a little time and you jumped on the chat and offered your opinion on it, if you're a tattooer or a supplier or whatever.
yeah, and I know for me firsthand, I know that I can utilize that conversation to help make things better in my own regard with Raw. Well, not my own, but company wide.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
We should see if we can get Joey Cap and Guy to join us for those. They have good, strong opinions. I mean, Guy doesn't have a strong opinion; he has his own opinion. But Joe has a strong opinion.
I bet he does.
That would be so awesome. Yeah, see what they say.
I mean, if we don't, if Joe doesn't want to come on, we'll have to find his drunk. I'm sure he has it on Drunk Critique somewhere.
Oh man.
Well, so Yogi didn't act like he wanted to actually talk about it on the show. He just wanted to let it stand.
He put out his piece, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he said that we can show the video and stuff like that. I think it's a really good conversation thing, because I mean, I feel like things are kind of, like I said before, imagine a tattoo convention in 50 years. And it's like, well, what if it keeps going the way that it's been going the last 5? Things seem to be getting a little out of control, if you ask me. That's just from my perspective and what I've seen and how it's different.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'll hold all my thoughts until next week. I'm excited about the conversation.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for that rabbit hole introduction.
Right. Yeah. Teaser. Big teaser. You guys come back next week.
Gabe, did you have another clip that we're gonna?
Yeah. Okay. So this will be. Is this the last clip or? This is the closing panel, and we're gonna have to bear with. We're gonna have to bear with the queuing it up because
we can't afford editors.
We can't afford editors. We're doing this on the fly. We're doing it fucking live.
Oh. I am well, in my first year of tattooing and probably the least experienced person at this entire event.
Kyle's behind her raising his hand.
Pre-apprentice? Fine, I'm the least experienced with experience.
I love it. The least experienced with experience.
Pretty much what the first thought that comes across my head is that this opportunity to be here and to receive.
It sounds like it's going to be a good speech. Question.
Wait a minute. Well, that was the whole teaser? Gabe, you got to do a better job than that. She didn't even say
what's going
anything.
on here? Oh no.
What's happening? Or just continuation of being a tattooer and learning my way in the industry. And I think one of the biggest things that I have learned here is, at least with the people that I've spoken to personally at this event, is that going back to the humbleness, everybody remembers their roots. And I thought coming here as a baby tattooer, I would kind of be mocked or made fun of or be given a hard time, or, you know, basically somebody would take one look at my Instagram and just crucify me. And I am just really grateful for everybody being really understanding and patient and kind and welcoming to the industry. I wasn't expecting that. But what I did learn was staying humble and remembering your fundamentals is pretty cool. I'm so nervous with the mic. Can you take this?
Man, that was awesome.
No.
Oh yeah, my name's Medusa. My Instagram is Medusa Slays with 3 S's at the end. Medusa Slays.
I see what you did there.
I'm from Portland, Oregon, and I work out of Lady Luck Tattoo.
Yeah, Medusa was awesome. I talked to her a couple of times throughout the weekend, and I think that just, I mean, that just shows what that event was actually like. You can imagine coming in as a one-year tattooer, scared to death that someone's going to look at some of your work and kick you out of the event or stop talking to you. And of course, she ends up, you know, working all weekend, drawing alongside everyone, making a bunch of new friends, and gaining, I don't know, a ton of confidence. Just she goes back home and she's ready to kill it at her shop. You know, it's great, so cool.
Yeah, if you think about it, sparks don't just happen. Sometimes you gotta, you know, rub the sticks together or do whatever you have to do, you know?
Yep.
Yeah,
And before you can pour gasoline into an engine, it should be built.
Oh, nice. Did you just make that up? Holy crap.
No.
Age-old wisdom, right?
Yeah. Okay, so Amanda says in chat room, the centipede. She says this with authority, it sounds like. The centipede, it was the most common tattoo symbol found cross-culturally in unconnected cultures. Often represented the tree of life as a central spine is the source and the legs are the extensions. There we go.
Cool.
Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't talk. I was responding. I can either talk to you guys or click on YouTube and respond to people. One or the other.
All right. Well, I think we're almost towards the end. Definitely want to say thank you to everybody watching. And
yes.
Yeah, if there's any other topics that we should talk about too, you know, drop it in the chat before you leave.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely should. We do this every Sunday, and we try to cover the big topics that are happening in the tattoo world, but we'd also love to talk about whatever ideas you guys have, so that you're more willing to come back and listen the next week or contribute the next week, even better.
Mm-hmm.
We should do a call-in show where people can call in.
Oh, I have the audio capability.
Can you have the audio? No.
Yeah.
Is it an 888 number or something that reminds me of my childhood? That'd be awesome.
666 number.
Ooh.
It could happen, you know.
How does it happen actually? Is it just
well, I can think of several ways, but for one, like just register for a phone number online if you wanted, and then you could have your phone number reroute, like that number also routed to your phone. So you could have technically 2 numbers, 1 device. And then with that, you can set up all sorts of stuff.
There's magic to make it happen.
Here's another good question for your audience on a topic we can cover in the future, and it would be like, do you want to jump down the rabbit hole of automatic answering machines and automatic calling that you set up? Or do you want all of your, like, every time you answer the phone, do you want it to be like an organic conversation with somebody?
Organic. Please.
Me too. But, like, what if your organic situation sucks? Like, you're not always there, or, like, you know, like, any reason. So, yeah. So there's some pros and cons that probably would spark great conversation.
Like you're talking about like different types of ways to connect clients and tattooers.
Yeah, like if you have one number and it says like, so say you're working remote and your team's remote at that time, like whether it's a weekend or, you know, or you run a restaurant like my sister, she runs a restaurant with a lot of different people.
Mm-hmm.
So she can have the phone calls to the restaurant routed to her phone also. So, you know, like it's just like another distant. Yeah.
There's a fellow, I don't know if anybody knows Conan Lee, but from Valuta Tattoo. You might know a tattoo release form apps. He has the tattoo
Oh,
release
okay.
form app. He's going to be, I think we'll get him on for one of these interviews. He keeps threatening to do so. He was talking about automating his artist process, a long ass time ago. And I was like, what are you talking about? I have like the best, support team in the world. What artist would ever want to have a computer take over for their shit when you have the best support team in the world? Fucking flash forward 5 years and I'm like, I really want to automate more things for artists because I'm like one dude and I don't have a support team. Anyways, point being is he might have some insights on ways to kind of like, make some of the automations somewhat personalized, as he's been doing it for a very long time as a tattooer.
They're coming up with some pretty creative things that you would actually maybe be like, oh, okay, too.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay.
All right. Have we said it all?
Yeah. Do we want to do one last round of like closing out and telling people how to find y'all, what you're doing, how to how to support you to make us keep being able to afford to do this?
Yeah. Start it off, Lauren.
Sure. My name is Lauren. I'm with Reinventing the Tattoo and Raw Pigments. And you can find me at lauren.worldwide. Otherwise, I run the Raw Pigments Instagram with James, and you can catch either of us on there, DM, send us a question. We really like hearing feedback about the pigments because that's really been exceptional to environment to be, to hear all the awesome feedback from you guys. So yeah, Lauren.worldwide. Otherwise, watching on some of the reinventing shows.
Okay, I'm Gabe Ripley. I've been hustling tattoo now since the mid-90s. I'm a computer geek, and I help produce these shows, a bunch of shows through Tattoo Now and Reinventing the Tattoo, like the computer geek for there. And then I've been doing some consulting. So where I hit New York City, going to Texas this month, I hit Virginia a couple of months ago. Anyways, so I do like consulting, computer techie stuff, search engine optimization. If you go to GabeRipley.com, there's a free consult. You can click it we could talk geek for like 15 minutes and see if there's any sort of stuff we could do. Okay. Jake, you have to you hit the space bar.
I did it. I hit it. My name is Jake Meeks. I run the Fireside Tattoo Network. We are the longest running tattoo podcast on the planet. I don't know if that's true, but I'm going to say it. If you say things long enough, people just believe that it's true. So I'm going to keep saying it. We focus on blurring the lines between tattooing and fine art. I want to pull all the stuff that I've learned from fine art and plug it into tattooing and help tattooers draw better pictures. I want to help tattoo collectors make better educated decisions. Go to firesidetattoo.com or just watch on YouTube, where most all of our content is.
Awesome.
What's the what? Who just started talking? Do we
There's
have
a party again? It's like here we go.
We have a fourth host.
Sorry, guys. I think that would probably be a good spot to stop. There we go. All right. See you guys all later.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Sorry.